He's probably up there scheming up plays for Alabama while he's calling the Georgia game, kind of thing.
Welcome to My Gotta Podcast. I'm Jim Wood. In this episode, John Powell and I review Georgia's 31-23 win over Georgia Tech. We talk about our experiences on Saturday and what stood out to us during the game. As always, remember to check out the newly redesigned MyGottaPodcast.com to see our latest merch. And you can follow us on social media at My Gotta Podcast. Finally, we'd love for you to check out our presenting sponsor, Oxia Time, at oxiatime.com. That's AXIATIME.com. Now, let's join the conversation in progress. I guess we're back to the just as we predicted mode.
Yeah, just as we predicted.
It was that was like an plain old fashioned hate. Like that's for all the people who talk about like, oh, I don't understand, what you don't like about Georgia Tech, and we just kill them all the time and get them off their schedule. I feel like that was that had like all the things, all the makings of when that game gets crazy.
It definitely had the makings of it, that's for sure. As soon as we fumbled the ball on the first play,
Yeah.
first play or two, right?
Yeah. Our first. Yeah, that was the weird thing, right? It was like we all rejoiced when Georgia Tech did not score a touchdown on their opening drive.
Yes.
And then we fumbled the ball.
And then we
The next
fumbled the
play.
ball. Yeah. That
Um,
was kind of crazy. I mean, you got the fumble, you got the interception, like basically with us, about to put a spike the football in the game kind of thing, and then that just gave them life. So if I told
yeah.
you before the game that we were going to have two turnovers, um, and we weren't going to get any in return, like
Yeah.
there's this is probably the result that you would have foreseen.
Yeah. Cause that was something we talked about, right? Like
Yeah.
Tech forces turnovers, but they give them away.
Yeah.
And we had our chances. There were, they put the ball on the ground. Um, we had some interception kind of close moments, but I don't know. Like tip of the cap to Brent Key. He had him ready to play. I think they had a good plan. Buster Faulkner was in his bag calling plays on offense. But and they had some assistance, I'll say, which maybe we can get into that later. But the officiating was interesting.
Yeah, we had to beat the refs. Had to beat the ACC officiating.
Yes, it was an ACC crew. I know we got that question on Twitter after the game was over. It was an ACC officiating crew, which is weird because like back, it used to be that the away team brought the refs from their conference. I don't know when that changed, although that didn't help. The last time we lost there, 1999 with Jasper Sang, so that was an SEC crew. So I guess it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, I guess it doesn't, but I mean there was definitely I mean, all right, so like all day really, like I mean there was an egregious like face mask penalty on Michigan Ohio State game that wasn't called. That I thought the kid was gonna get his neck snapped.
Yeah,
And then we had the play where it was like a face mask penalty that extended a tech drive.
yeah,
Um, and it was a phantom face mask penalty that is not a reviewable call, which is in this day and age just seems kind of crazy that we can review some things and some things we can't, which are very clearly like if it showcases that it's not a penalty, that we could very easily pick the flag up and move on with our lives.
yeah. There was a bad face mask, no face mask call in the Iron Bowl too.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it was a day for errant face mask penalties. Uh, well,
Yeah.
what was your viewing situation? What were you doing? What were you doing for the game on Saturday? Because you had the Santa session in the morning, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So Saturday was supposed to be a day of watching football, right? I actually went Black Friday shopping. which I haven't done that in quite some time. I usually don't ever go out for something like that unless it's like I know exactly what I'm going for kind of thing.
Yeah.
This time around, like our TVs have been kind of crapping out, and I haven't bought a TV in forever, man. If you haven't tried to buy a TV recently, it's kind of an annoying thing because there's so much terminology that it's just foreign to me at this point because I
Okay.
haven't shopped for a TV in so long. Um, but yeah, I went for a Black Friday shopping just to see what the TVs look like, and then I was trying to get a Jim Wood, I was trying to get a Jim Wood TV set up where I had multiple
Mm,
TVs going, if I wanted to.
right.
Ended up getting one. Incidentally, was not going to be a replacement for my main TV because I think the main TV is still a nicer TV, which is saying something for those old TVs that you have, right?
Right.
Um, but now I do have the benefit of having a split screen setup now, so I can watch two games at once, or as it happened for most of the day, my kids can watch you know what Henry Danger or whatever on Netflix, and I can watch a football game on the top. But I was running errands a good bit of Saturday as well. So got the TV Friday, thought I was all set up, and Saturday came around, and my wife, as I mentioned on the podcast, was doing Santa sessions. She had 100 families, or 100 families through Saturday and Sunday. So it was like 50 and 60, I think was kind of her split for the days. 200 total kids
Wow.
came through the studio to see Santa this weekend.
That's cool.
In that process, she forgets things, and I gotta run the stuff over. Our kids were getting Santa pictures at the very end on Saturday, so that was around 2 o'clock. I made sure that that was not going to interfere with the watching situation. Um, yeah, I was running errands, picking up lunch for her, and she has some helpers that were helping uh, my sister-in-law and my daughter, and then she has an assistant that helps her through with her business um all day long. So I got them, and I got Santa. We got Santa. It was dude, wildest stat. Talk about a wild stat. Our Santa had only had Chick-fil-A twice. This was the second time we'd ever had Chick-fil-A, which I thought was just absolutely mind-boggling.
It's because he's always eating at the North Pole, John.
Yeah, and I mean that's probably why he's got like he's not actually physically gifted in the Santa way, if you know what I mean. Like
Gotcha.
he's he's actually kind of skinny. He's got like a fat suit that he wears, but he has that
Uh,
look, he has that Santa
right.
look.
Right. Right. That's great.
But yeah, so I watched on the TV. We were trying to do leftovers. Found out that we thought we had some rolls, and I decided my dummy head in my mind was like, I'll just make some rolls. So I made some yeast rolls before the game. So I was actually cooking them as we were kicking off. So I
Yeah.
had to kind of watch those, and then after we got everything cooked and ready and eaten, I took the TV outside, and we watched the second half outside
Got it. Got it. Yeah, we were
around the fire.
nice. We were huddled around the the family room TV at Fripp. So we went down to Fripp for Thanksgiving with all of my extended family. So it was Kim and I, the girls, my sister, her husband and kids, and Fripp dog and Panda. So my parents were there. So yeah, dude. So we did what? We did smoked turkeys for Thanksgiving. My brother-in-law
Mm.
smoked those. And then we did
We did smoked turkey as well.
okay, nice. And then we did smoked prime rib for the game meal.
Man,
And
that is just elite.
it was awesome. It was really good.
I can imagine.
But we ran right up to kickoff, like because we got messed up with the timing a little bit. So we like literally like finished our food and then the game kicked off. It was like right there. Um, but yeah, it was excellent. We had the bean dip was the snack while we were waiting for the prime rib to be ready. So we had the famous bean dip, um, and actually made by Panda this time. So that was fantastic. I don't know, man. Like we did those things. I had a hat on. We tweeted the official hashtag. Um, But to your point earlier of like, if I had told you, right? Like,
Hmm.
if I had told you that we were going to hold out Brock Bowers, Lad McConkey, Rah Rah, Tate Rallage, and the official wallpaper, how would you have felt?
Well, you have a certain way that you feel about the wallpaper. I just think it's funny, but yeah, no, missing those players. But like you say that, but like we've been missing time. We've missed Bowers and we've missed Ladd in the past, and
Yeah.
Rara obviously hasn't exactly been like a huge factor, but obviously he is a factor. Now Tate Ratledge, yeah, like he's definitely been an anchor on the offensive line, but at the same time, like we've been missing those guys and still beat the crap out of people. So
Yeah.
I don't know, but the two turnover situation is definitely something that it's actually kind of a watch this space on how slow we can really get. Um, you're talking about slow starts, how slow. I don't know how much slower you can get on fumbling the first play, but
Mm.
um, you know, if you make mistakes like that next week, that kind of thing, watch that space. We need to play like this team is not built to overcome. Georgia Tech, I think, they had an opportunity on 4th and 1 inside the 4th and 1, inside the goal to go, kind of thing. Like they kicked their field goal. What was that? That was in the first quarter. It was their third possession of the game, and they had a chance to score another touchdown and go up a full touchdown on us, I thought, right? Or was that
Yeah.
later in the
Yeah.
game?
No, that's right. You're right.
Okay.
It was 7-7 at that point. And they kicked a field
Yes.
goal to 10-7.
Right. So I kind of thought that was like a white flag kind of moment, like a foreshadowing situation that Georgia Tech was kind of pulling a Mark Richt, playing not to lose kind of thing. But
It,
what's interesting is they ended up like going for it later in the game, which I thought was kind of crazy. Like it's like, wow, you suddenly want to go for it, but you didn't want to go for it on 4th and 1 when you had been gashing us.
I thought that was super interesting, especially with the way Brent Key answered the question during the game, because they actually, dude, these in-game interviews are getting kind of crazy. Like, I mean, it was in the game. They're like, "Why didn't you go for it on 4th and goal?" Like, wow,
Yeah,
like you're really
yeah,
gonna ask the
seriously.
coach that during the game? I thought
During the game is,
that was wild.
yeah, I agree.
Um,
The end game interviews is kind of nuts.
But so, but I mean, and he got pretty defensive. I mean, like, I don't blame him, honestly. I still can't believe they asked that. But he was like, well, we had the plan. We're sticking to the plan. And I know, like, we were all joking, like, when they went, to your point, when they later went for it on 4th down, like, inside their own,
Yeah, it
I mean,
was
it was
like
definitely
inside
on their
the
side of the field, but it was pretty far back. I want to say, like, it was inside of their 40. We're like, well, are you sticking to the plan still, or did the plan it seems like you changed the plan in the middle of the game, which I mean, they got it. So I guess it was the right call there. But I thought that was interesting too. That was kind of funny.
yeah.
But the offense, like, I mean, the offense wasn't so much the problem, I would say, in this game. I mean, the offense, I know there was the fumble on the first play. So that obviously, but aside from that, the first half drives went what? Touchdown, touchdown, touchdown. I mean, we scored a touchdown every other time we had the ball in the first half. Um,
Hmm.
and then, you know, the second half, not to harp on the officiating, but like the opening drive of the second half, when we went 3 and out and punted, I mean, on 3rd down, that was the long, deep pass to Dylan Bell that was initially ruled a catch and was overturned to say incomplete. That I still thought that was a catch. Um,
Still thought it was a catch.
yeah, I mean, you can
Yeah,
tuck
I
the
mean,
ball, like the ball can move. And from my understanding, I don't know. I thought that was kind of weird.
yeah, it seemed kind of strange. Like, I mean, he had two hands on the ball the entire way.
Yeah.
It just seemed obvious that he had caught the ball. I think even didn't the guy on the review booth like say like he thought it was a catch?
I
Like the
don't know.
guy, like the guy, how they have that rules
Like the
official
rules
or whatever?
analysts.
Yeah.
I can't really remember because it was quite hectic with all of us yelling at the TV, saying that it was a catch uh, in the Wood Home.
Yes.
But like all that to say, like that, and then the other drive, the drive that resulted in the other touchdown, sorry, the other interception. Um, we scored on that drive and it got called back. There were actually two penalties on that drive
Hmm.
that got called back. There was there's a holding on Dylan Fairchild on like a tight end screen to Delp, would have given us 2nd and 5 at the Tech 6. And then we scored a touchdown even after that. Touchdown pass to Dylan Bell that got called out for an eligible lineman downfield. Um,
God, I hate
so
that. I hate that rule. I hate that rule so bad. If you can get a lineman downfield, like good for you. Like what? I don't understand what the point of that rule is.
yeah. So I had been saying like, oh, we lost 14 points, from overturn. And technically, we didn't because we did end up scoring. The other time when like what it was a Milton touchdown run that got called back, we still ended up scoring a touchdown on that drive when that happened in the first half. So I guess you could say we got 7 points ish.
Hmm.
But anyways, all that to say, I felt like yes, we had the fumble. Um, but on the whole, I thought the offense looked pretty good. I mean, I think Beck, you could probably say was a little off. The 250 passing yards every start streak ended. He had what 175, I think, yards passing. Um, so that came to an end. But I mean, but the ground game was like ridiculous. I mean, Kendall Milton have a day. We're seeing what was I think John said like we're seeing the Kendall Milton that we recruited, because he's fully healthy.
Yeah, a fully healthy Kendall Milton has been a revelation to see. It's kind of like what we were expecting. Yeah, where's this kid been? Yeah, well, he's been hurt.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I hope that he can maintain this momentum because he's peaking at the right moment his senior year, and at the right moment to potentially propel himself into the next level. He's coming on strong here at the right time.
Yeah. Yeah. Agreed. Agreed. Why don't we do a quick shout out to our sponsor, Oxia Time. So be sure to head over to axiatime.com. That's AXIATIME.com. American design, Swiss made watches, very nice timepieces. Go check out their 2021 and 2022 Georgia National Championship collection. They've got a bunch of other timepieces there as well. So you can get the Oxia Time branded watches as well. They all come with multiple bands. And the Georgia timepieces, you can get an engraving on the back of the watch that comes with it as well. And new now, you can use the code HunkerDown at axiatime.com to get 10% off your timepiece. So head over to axiatime.com and be sure to check that out. And thanks again to Axiatime for presenting season 4 of My God, a Podcast. So the defense.
Yeah, the defense. I mean, yeah, like you said, overall, you know, the overall offense was great. The defense was the problem.
Yeah. And I mean, it definitely looked like we weren't doing anything unique. Like everything looked very like base package on the offense too, honestly. But the offense has just like feel functioned more, I guess at least was more effective. Um, but the defense, I mean, yeah, so not many blitzes, not really disguising anything. I think something you pointed out, which I think I eventually saw it like once, but like I know you texted like, have we been doing the defensive line shift? Like, that we
Yeah,
usually shift it before. It's like we didn't see much of that.
no, there wasn't any
Um,
of that. That's like what we're known for, right?
yeah. So I don't know. I I know like what was the line that some podcast said recently? Like the ultimate sign of respect um, is when Georgia respects you enough to blow you out. So I don't know, like if our lack there was a sign of disrespect for Georgia
Yeah,
Tech. I don't
I,
know.
I think I saw some Georgia Tech guys talking about that. It felt like that Georgia was just playing with its food. They seem totally disinterested in Georgia Tech, which is, as we've heard, Kirby has had some, you know, he has had some preparation in for Alabama already so
Mhm.
far.
Right.
So
Yeah. Which I mean, you'd expect, frankly.
yeah. So anyway, when you have an offense, you know, they had a success rate of 18%, a 0% explosive rate, 0.4 yards per play, and a negative EPA, negative 3.358 EPA on third down, Georgia Tech. Those are Georgia Tech's numbers on third down.
Yeah.
That is absolutely abysmal performance. And it didn't feel like that in as you were watching the game. Um, they had a pretty decent day. Rushing, it felt like that they were better than us at times running the ball, but like I don't know. I'd love to see like some of these stats and some of these, dog stats' numbers, as the quarters rolled on, because like it didn't feel like that. The numbers, if you look at like the advanced stats, the numbers didn't track with how I felt throughout the entirety of the game. But if you look at the advanced stats, like we beat the crap out of them.
Yeah. I mean, they had 205 yards rushing.
Right.
I mean, that was the frustrating thing. And it was like they kept doing the same thing, right? It was like, which I mean, like if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Like they kept running that like kind of jet sweep motion, getting the backs to the outside, and it was working. And then when they didn't do that, it's because Haynes King would pull it and run the ball up the middle. Um, he was very effective with his feet. And I felt like our our young linebackers probably over pursued a bit at times.
Yeah.
So I mean, dude, I mean, it was working. I was impressed. I was really impressed with King. I thought he looked really good. We saw Scyther show up early on that first drive. Didn't get a touchdown though, so I guess that was one of his few catches on the season where he didn't score a touchdown. But yeah, I mean, there was definitely a lot of frustration. I felt like Kirby looked pretty like visibly frustrated at one point, where there was a moment on TV where they showed him like with the defensive huddle, and I kind of got a sense of that he was like, okay, screw it, I'm gonna do it myself. I'm gonna take over and I'm gonna coach these guys. I don't know. Who knows what was actually going on, but that's what it looked like on TV.
Yeah, it was definitely a hands-on game for him as the game wore on and nothing really changed. So
Yeah.
Glenn Schumann, he was trying to coach a little bit, and then all of a sudden Kirby just like went down in the dirt or something like that. Or you know what I mean? Like, and then
Right.
I saw Muschamp, Muschamp was kind of like watching from the outside, like, the co-defensive coordinator. I was expecting him to be like more verbal and yelling at people and stuff, but like everybody seemed fairly calm and collected. Like they knew that they had problems, they knew they needed to fix them. I'm hoping that they got some insight into themselves, but like, and yeah, it just didn't seem like we were super. Yeah, John mentioned that we were playing really vanilla, like that we were. If you are astute to those kinds of things, my one, my one situation that was tipping the hand that there was something that was not normal was the defensive shifts. Like we
Mhm.
didn't have anybody moving along the lines trying to get people to jump off sides and things like that. So um, that was a signal to me that we weren't really interested in showing our hand too much on what we had in the chamber.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think it's like we saw this team look like what it looked like earlier in the season when we had some of the lesser opponents that we were playing,
Exactly. Yeah.
and we went
This
back
was a
to
practice game.
right, right, right.
Which is just
So
crazy to like what a time to be alive as a dog fan.
yeah, yeah. I don't know, man. Like when they cut it to 8, I was like, oh my gosh. I mean, I knew they had to get an onside kick, but it was just so it was a frustrating one. But hey, it got the blood got the blood going for us. It actually felt like clean old fashioned hate.
Yes. Clean old fashioned hate. Give it to me.
Let's see. Coaches over unders. I let's see. You gained ground on me by one. You went 7-1 on over unders. And I went 6-2. So on the season, I'm now at 60 and 36. You're at 55 and 41. So moment by moment, JP. You keep chopping, you keep
Moment
trying
by
to
moment.
coming back there. But so thanks again, Coach, for submitting those and tracking them. But I feel like one of the most nervy moments in the game was on the one Brett Thorson punt. Would we have the over on punt returns with a zero punt return streak? And I don't know. I guess Don Blaylock helped his buddy out, his former teammates out, and wave signal for that fair catch. Uh, Kept that streak alive. So I thought that was pretty funny. But
Yeah. Yeah, I don't. They mentioned it on the broadcast. They
they
mentioned
did.
the
People have caught
streak
on.
on the. Yeah,
People have caught on.
people have figured it out. They've been listening to my God podcast.
That's right. That's right. But I will say on special teams, we had another payday. Um, he continues to be fantastic. Could have done without the muff punt that the Muse had. I know it just went out of bounds, so ended up being nothing. But it was similar to what was the undoing of Auburn, and as to how it happened, just letting that punt go. So there's that. There was another thing with Muse where like he fielded a kickoff where it looked like it was going to go out of bounds. So probably some special teams things to clean up here.
Yeah, I would. We're back to being nervous about Muse fielding punts. So I'm of the opinion that when Muse starts getting moved backwards, he just needs to let it go. Like
Mhm.
it just seems like it's a dangerous situation every time that he's moving backwards to try to field a punt.
Yeah.
The other thing that I think is something that they need to coach into him is that anytime that the ball is anywhere near the sideline,
Right.
to just let it go, because I feel like that happened a couple of times where, not only was he moving backwards, but he was moving backwards to the sideline where the punt was just going to go out of bounds, like let it go out of bounds. And then one of those times was on a kickoff, and if had the kickoff gone out of bounds, then we would have gotten serious positive yardage out of that. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that the fielding of kicks needs to be taken, because that's something like those little mental mistakes are going to cost you in this next game. So
Yeah. I think you're right. I think it did happen twice. Once he got tackled, like it was inside the 25, if not inside the 20. Um, the other one though, he got it beyond the 35, so I was okay with that one. That was the second. That's actually the second time. Dude, I will say Dylan Bell also had a very nice kickoff
he
return,
did.
and I do think we need to give him some more flowers. Maybe we can talk about happier things and talk like Dylan Bell. And we talked about Kendall Milton, his big day and him really stepping up and coming into his own. Dylan Bell too, man. He's been a true like jack of all trades of late.
Yeah, someone I think dog memes on Instagram had a meme of him. Was it Champ Bailey, I think, or was it
No,
Heinz Ward?
it was Heinz Ward. Yeah.
Yeah. It was Heinz Ward, the Spider-Man with the glasses off. It was like kind of fuzzy and looking like Heinz Ward, and then you put the glasses on, it's Dylan Bell. Dude, he has looked great, man. Man, he has really been coming on lately, and he's very deserving of some of that preseason hype that we kind of heard about
Mhm.
in the lead up to in the spring lead up. Yeah, I would not be sad to see him get more touches, more opportunities. I think that he's probably played himself into more opportunities moving forward for sure. I think that Muse maybe is playing himself out of opportunities. Unfortunately, the unofficial official wide receiver of my podcast has not been playing very well lately at his position. He had one go through his hands. I think was it a third down that he let go through his hands?
Yeah, I don't know how much I put that on him. Uh, I mean,
I mean,
he
he had
did.
to jump a little bit, but like
Yeah,
you got both hands on it, dude, and it
he
went
did,
straight.
but
It went straight
it
through
was
your
coming in
hands.
like it was a fastball and a little high. So I don't know, but
That's definitely something that we've seen happen a few times this season. Brock Bowers had that happen.
yeah,
Muse, I don't know, but I'm always going to be of the opinion that if you can get both hands on it, you should catch the ball.
right.
Um,
It was set up well
Dom
too.
love it.
he was going to
Dominic Lovett
go.
had one.
Yeah.
What were you gonna say?
I would say that play was set up nicely. Like I think Muse had a
Yeah,
lot of room to operate with if he comes down with that
if he comes
ball.
down with the ball, yeah.
Yeah.
And then Dom had a drop too that kind of went through his hands. Yeah, you like to think that your playmakers are going to make those catches.
Yeah. Yeah. We did get, I feel like we did finally get a nice, like, thrown into the end zone, deep ball touchdown.
We did.
Um,
It was a nice touch.
it was a beautiful pass. Beautiful pass. That was the first touchdown, Georgia's first touchdown of the game.
That might have been
So,
his best throw. That might have been his best looking like throw all season, right? Like
yeah, dude, it was,
the way that he just lofted it up out there in stride, like perfect.
yeah, it was nice. It was pretty. It was a pretty one. I don't know. In general, though, I just kind of feel like let's flush this game and move on to.
Yeah, Kirby and them clearly like they were flushing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you had Georgia Tech running trick plays, like they were emptying the clip, and I think that Buster Faulkner also had some things to prove, and I think that he proved them pretty decently. But I also think that Bobo was kind of looking at it and saying, "No, that's cute," and just kind of like moving on with his life.
Yeah.
He's probably up there scheming up plays for Alabama while he's calling the Georgia game, kind of thing. Like
Uh,
in between downs, he's like, uh, yeah, just throw it deep to Bill. Throw it deep to Dom.
right, right. So I guess kind of speaking of that, the of the next opponent, the Iron Bowl was drunk. Um,
See that's I mean all of a lot of these rivalry games kind of were really close. I mean, you had
yeah.
Washington State was close. You had Alabama, Auburn. Our
Mhm.
game was fairly close for a while.
Yeah.
Uh,
I
I
mean,
think
Michigan,
that
Ohio State was.
Michigan, Ohio State was pretty close for a while too. Um, yeah, these are that's the reason that you play these rivalry games.
Yeah. Yeah.
I saw the BYU Oklahoma State was also kind of close too, right?
Yeah. That was
is that a
over.
big does that classify as a big rivalry?
I don't, not that I'm aware.
Yeah,
Uh, but it had Big 12 championship game implications. Oklahoma State had to win that game to go to the Big 12 championship game. And so
right.
they were what they were down and they came back and they lost the lead. Yeah, that one was wild. Dude, Kentucky beat Louisville. I mean,
Yeah, Kentucky, yeah.
I will say, like, as the day was going on and all those games were crazy, I definitely had one of those like, what's our game gonna look like kind of moments. Like,
Yeah.
is this one of those crazy college football days? Um,
You
especially
weren't Munsoning, but you
I
were
didn't Munson. I didn't Munson. I didn't like say anything to anyone or anything. But it did kind of come into the back of my mind, like, man, is this one of those crazy days in college football? Um, which I don't know. I guess maybe Alabama hanging on miraculously turned that tide, so to speak. But like on that, like I don't that last play, like I don't. I think like my dad said something to the effect of like the only way Alabama makes this is if Auburn only rushes two, and then they rush two. What are you doing? Like that was like the only way for that to work. I mean, he had literally Milrow had all day to throw, and the guy was basically
all
just
day to
like
figure out backyard football.
exactly, exactly. So I don't even know what to think. Like whether I mean, like in the grand scheme of things, I don't think it really. I mean, it definitely didn't matter. Like we were playing Alabama anyways. I guess all it did was keep their playoff hopes alive because I think if they had lost that game, even if they were to come out on top of the SEC championship, I don't think they would be in. So I guess big for them, but I don't think it's super.
I mean, apparently Mr. Milrow thinks that he deserves the Heisman.
Oh
So
my gosh, yeah, I saw that.
I mean, Alabama must be really reeling right now to have to have that kind of statement at the end. I mean, really, I mean, literally their entire season came down to one play.
Yeah,
Like that play was successful. Now their season is still, they have everything still left in front of them. Had that one single play not gone their way, it would be a very different story in Tuscaloosa.
yeah. I feel
And I
bad
think
for.
that is like the quintessential like script flip. You know, we're sitting here lamenting the fact that we didn't like beat the stew out of Georgia Tech any more than we did, and
Mhm.
you know, Alabama's over there celebrating last gasp heaves to the end zone, kind of like Jacob Eason did when you know we were playing Tennessee, kind of stuff. Like, um, I think that it just kind of articulates the disparity between the two programs right now.
That's true. That's true. I mean, shoot, Auburn and Georgia Tech, I don't think are too different, honestly. They're both 6-6, right?
Right. Yeah. They're both
So
one dimensional. Neither one of them can throw the ball very well.
yeah, yeah. So that's a
Hey
good
man,
point.
maybe that's foreshadowing what it's going to look like for us, off you know from a defensive standpoint. So,
Yeah.
like I said, these it turns out that these weeks leading up to this SEC championship have been, you know, have been scripted for teams that have mobile quarterbacks. So this is
Mhm.
another
Yeah.
situation where we had that example in front of us. So, um, I hope that they have everything figured out for Saturday.
Yeah. Yeah. Agreed. Agreed. All right, I got some things I want to rattle off, but did
Okay.
just want a couple of reminders before I do that. Head over to mygodapodcast.com. We got our store in there. You can check out all of our merch. You will also find links to Home Field Apparel on My God a Podcast now, or you could just go to homefield.mygodapodcast.com. You can always use the code Hunkered Down to get 15% off your first order at Home Field. But right now, they still got Black Friday going on, so you can use code Black Friday to get 20% off. And then also with that site update, that was obviously updated by Working Web Media. So even over Thanksgiving break, John was able to work with the kind folks over at Working Web Media to get our site updated to reflect that home field relationship now. So as always, be sure to head over to workingwebmedia.com/dogs. That's DAWGS. And they will know that we sent you their way. Okay. So I did want to rattle off some things because there were some significant things that did happen with this win. So that's 6 in a row over Georgia Tech now. We now have this senior class has won 49 games. That ties the program record that was set by last year's senior class. So that's right there. And the Georgia Bulldogs now have the longest winning streak in SEC history at 29 games. So that came to fruition as you pointed out, John, made the streak over the enemy, Georgia Tech, in Atlanta, over a team who was a founding member of the SEC and left.
Yeah. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, nerds. Appreciate you.
uh, and I get to put up my Christmas tree now. So there's that.
Hey, and even better, you get to actually have Christmas.
That's right. That's right. It's not ruined. So that will be happening throughout this week, with final lights going up ahead of SEC championship. That's how I pass the time. But we can talk about that next time we get together.
Yes.
I don't know. Anything else?
We have another game. We have another game to prepare for. So these are the good old days. Again, just to reiterate, we're in yet another SEC championship game.
It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. 6 out of 7. That's never been done before. It's the poetry I predicted, John.
It had to be Bama. It had to be Bama versus Georgia.
It had to be. There's no other way to end college football as we've known it, because it's I mean, think about it, man. All those games and all those close calls yesterday, they don't matter in a 12-team playoff. Like, it
Yeah,
doesn't matter. Like, all these teams are
yeah,
still getting in, you know?
yeah. I was just reading a tweet by Brandon Zimmerman. Works over at ESPN and SEC Network. Yesterday's Iron Bowl game was so dramatic because Alabama's national title hopes hung in the balance.
Yep.
Not sure how it's going to feel next year when a regular season game like this is played without any national title ramifications. Because if they had lost that game, you know, it wouldn't have mattered.
It wouldn't have mattered. It wouldn't have mattered. They're still in.
Yeah.
Brandon Zimmerman, like, Georgia grad, by the way. He used to write. He wrote for the Red and Black back when I was at Georgia.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, dude,
Fun. fun facts on the review episode. I like
Fun
it.
facts. Fun facts. Yeah, dude, I mean, get off my lawn, I guess, but that's a big reason. I mean, the Iron Bowl is always going to be meaningful, but like that definitely adds to it. It all hinged on that one play, like you said. But I mean, shoot, even like Louisville losing to Kentucky, like Louisville, they could beat Florida State next week in the ACC championship in the 12-team playoff they're still in. Like, like this stuff isn't going to be, it's not going to be as the magnitude goes down big time. But anyway, we can deal with that later.
Yeah. We'll see. I mean, can you call it the Alabama Invitational at this point? Is it the Georgia Invitational at this point?
I think it's a fair question to ask. That's true. That's true.
We'll cross that bridge when we get to it, Jim.
Agreed. We can do that.
Maybe we have that. That's what's up for grabs on Saturday. Amongst other things.
That's awesome. Well, I'm glad that y'all had a good Thanksgiving, had your Santa sessions, even through a little Black Friday shopping. So that was good, and we enjoyed the time we got to spend with our family. It was first time we had watched the Georgia Tech game down at Fripp since I think 2019. It's what we usually do when Georgia's at Georgia Tech, but COVID kind of messed us up for a few years there. So that was fun to get back on that track.
That's awesome. Yeah, man. Traditions are super fun. I saw, the Huggins clan. I didn't realize it when I was talking to Jason last week, and he was saying that he was going with his dad, his son, and his brother. It was like a guy's. I thought it was the guy's trip, but that's like the seventh consecutive clean old fashioned hate on the flats that they've gone to, and of 3 generations. So like, if you're able to put something together like that, that's special, and to do it during a time frame when you're winning is even better.
Yeah, for sure. All right, man. Well, it was fun. We got through it. I think, like I said, flush that tape and on to the next one. Get ready to the one we've all been waiting for.
Yeah, we got bigger fish to fry, and it's time to fry them.
Love it.
Hey man, it was good catching up. I'm glad you guys got home safe. Had a good trip to Ponda's famous beach house, and we'll catch up for the SEC championship. Go Dogs!
Go Dogs!